Recently, a Quillette author called out the intellectual dark web, and more specifically, Dave Rubin, for giving casual viewers a false sense of impartiality. It's remarkable if only for the reason that it isn't coming from a predictable leftist rag, but from an outlet that is completely sympathetic to his camp. The article itself is less interesting or insightful than Rubin's outsized response on Twitter, expressing disappointment in editor Claire Lehman for publishing the article in the first place. While the article does fall short in a number of ways, it does prompt a broader discussion of what role exactly Dave Rubin serves in the public conversation. Less of an intellectual, he acts as more of a facilitator, host, and general tag-along. This is a perfectly acceptable role to play in a media landscape wherein everyone playing is clearly slanted left. But Dave Rubin's primary stated goal is to promote conversation and dialogue. Conversations are the best way to find truth and combat disinformation, he says. But when we look closer at the Rubin Report, this motto appears to be donned as nothing more than a marketing gimmick. The most obvious case was seen in his response to a super chat asking him to have Social Democrat Sam Seder on his show.
Hey Dave, this is a very brave move on your part. Kudos. Have you heard about the SJW nonsense on the... I don't even care about those guys. It really just honestly doesn't matter. Viva la free speech. Good luck, Dave. Fuck you, Patreon. All right, I'm reading these live.
On the right, we can turn to someone as mainstream as Gavin McInnes, who became an actual victim of the censorious left. Even if you think McInnes should have been banned, you'd assume a dialogue crusader like Rubin would be ready to discuss the other side of the story. Meanwhile, Rubin tweets out that he's about to hit 1 million subscribers, affecting a veneer of victimhood. In the real world, his followers had naturally started unsubscribing to mess with him, as is often the case with any YouTuber who makes these types of announcements. He immediately assumes YouTube is sabotaging him. The question of why social media corporations would target his show never seemed to occur to him. After all, most disagreements on his show are about mundane political trivialities, like to what degree tax policy should be adjusted, or whether we should keep this or that regulation on trade or whatever. He strictly hosts what's almost a cult of narrow, mostly self-described classical liberals. What exactly differentiates people like Sam Harris, the Weinstein brothers, and even Ben Shapiro that he so often cites? Save for a few issues, these are pretty solidly neoliberals with no real foundational disagreements. For the most part, they adhere uniformly to the libertarian ethos of live and let live. It's worth noting that there isn't inherently a problem with having a show dedicated to promoting a particular viewpoint. Not every channel is meant to be a conversation or debate show, but it does become a problem when you tell viewers they're being exposed to diverse perspectives, when it's not really the truth. The reality is that there are responsibilities and costs for actually facilitating open dialogue and pushing political boundaries. A classical liberal who moves beyond lip service can be seen in YouTuber and now UKIP candidate Carl Benjamin, who has made numerous efforts at great personal expense to engage with and provoke his most fierce critics, both on the left and the right. Unlike Rubin, Carl Benjamin ventured out of the cozy ownage factory of SJW anti-feminist videos to address his fiercest critics head-on, going so far as to challenge the alt-right and lost his Patreon because of it. Even if he weren't willing to do that, he made an effort to expound on them in long form. The same simply can't be said of Rubin, who can be found scolding Quillette editor Claire Lehman for posting the article that included one paragraph critical of him. Hosting the types of conversations Carl Benjamin did may not be professionally advantageous, but it is interesting and boundary-pushing, qualities with which Dave Rubin seems to want to show associated, but without any of the actual risk. Another model for free thinking and fearless curiosity is found in Christopher Hitchens, who's certainly a source of inspiration for many within the IDW. He was willing to have intellectual confrontations with truly dark figures, even as extreme as John and Tom Metzger.
What is the role of violence in your organization?
Okay.
And whether you consider the US government legitimate, and whether you're shaking your head already, and whether, in other words, you believe in politics.
Okay.
But I think, in fairness to you, that's reserved for a word from our sponsors is coming.
Other people bring up Hitler, the Jews, white supremacist, and other subjective words.
Well, to me, I mean, that might be a fair point, but to be straight with you, I brought it up because I've been reading your papers, and I've never read so much about Hitler, and I admit you're out of the mainstream and deserve protection for that reason. Quite a lot of pro-Hitler stuff, more than you get in the New York Times, certainly, so giving you the chance to say why there's so much stuff friendly to the Fuhrer.
Well, That's just something that we put in our newspaper. If people have problems with it.
Me a bit. In fact,
You feel a solidarity with racists of all
I am in
colors and creeds?
solidarity with all racial separatists, no matter what color they are.
So you're not a supremacist? You don't think the Aryan race is superior?
It doesn't make any difference whether I do or not.
Answer the question, Mr. Metz, before it change.
I think that the European people are the finest of nature's creation.
Yes.
However, there are people on the other side of the fence of other races who would like to argue the other way.
Okay, yes, I dare say there will be, and who knows, some of them may be on the phone, but now we must take a break. Beyond that, which side will you be on, by the way? I mean, since the whites are your main enemy, who are you going to start shooting first?
I'll be on the side that attacks Washington as fast as possible and drags those filthy congressmen and senators into the street and hang them from the light poles.
I'm tempted to...
and I'll join with the blacks on that one.
Well, then perhaps, this would make a terribly soggy ending, but perhaps we found a fairy way of saying goodnight, and by goodnight, that's goodnight to you, Mr. Metzger Jr., to you, Mr. Metzger Sr.
No one is saying that everyone is capable of that. After all, the only way you can host these figures is by preparing and having a firm grasp on the issues, something Dave Rubin hasn't really demonstrated. Take, for example, when the Conversation guy embarrassingly invites Tommy Sotomayor on his show, but fails to research him enough to challenge his position on homosexuals. He ended up defaulting to his script about conversations. Afterwards, Sotomayor expressed disgust to his audience that he shook that man's hand.
You can't even have a preference around a liberal. A liberal homosexual says, well, you should accept my lifestyle. But if you say, well, I accept your lifestyle, I just don't want my kid to be one. Well, you're a bit. Well, wait a minute. I accept the fact that you want to be homeless. I don't want my kid to be homeless. I accept the fact that you want to smoke crack. I don't want my kid to smoke crack.
What do we do from here? What do we do from here? Like, I think most people, I know a lot of my audience is going to hear you, really hear you, and go, this is the type of stuff that I think needs to be heard more. And I think that the group of people that are talking about this stuff is actually growing. I do see this. At the same time, the people who don't want to hear us are getting more and more hysterical because that's all they got left.
Even said they hate Dave Rubin because he's a gay man with the wrong opinion. Dave Rubin is gay? No! He got a husband? I did not know. I was in his presence. I didn't know. I shook his hand. I sat down with him. Why did y'all tell me before I went on the show? Oh, Stephen, why would you send me this? Oh my gosh, Stephen, you've ruined my day.
The most accurate model someone like Dave Rubin might aspire to be might be Joe Rogan. He pushes back and asks legitimately challenging questions, is more or less informed about his interviewees' backgrounds, and is occasionally funny to boot. As a comedian turned interviewer, it reveals the ultimate problem with Dave Rubin. He doesn't really meet any of that criteria, and is evidently never prepared to discuss anything other than what amounts to conversations are good. In the end, when we review his mostly uniform catalog of neoliberal guests, it's clear his show isn't dedicated to diversity of thought. The few moments he is willing to host guests that are controversial, he's unable to properly challenge them on the issues that matter. Essentially, he fetishizes the idea of conversations without ever actually being able to have serious ones. What pushed Rubin to prominence in 2015 was dunking on college feminists and social justice warriors as a reasonable ambassador from the left. As that tired exercise becomes outmoded, the question again arises, what role does Rubin serve moving forward? The only clear one is a ramp off of which neoliberal centrists can ollie. The only thing that anyone should expect of him is that he's honest about that. Perhaps he doesn't truly embrace actual conversation because, implicitly, even he recognizes that conversations rarely get us anywhere, especially when our disagreements are as fundamental as they become.